Fratelloni's
Take 2 or 3.
Here we go.
Yep.
Fratelloni's Hardware and no, wait, stop. Turn it off. Don't start yet.
Okay.
Are you going to go to those bells so I can describe?
Are you going to ring those Christmas bells?
Just shush.
Yeah. It's going to be hard today to do that, by the way.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings your Garage Logic podcast number 1422, November 8, 2024. 77 degrees on this day in 1999, and it was 9 degrees on this day as a low in it was 1 degree on this day in 1991. And just for the heck of it, on this day in 1943, dang near 9 inches of snow.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reber, manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Sushiro.
Those are the bells of Notre Dame ringing for the first time in Paris since the fire today.
In 2019, right?
When the fire was?
Yeah.
Today is the first ringing of the bells since the 2019 fire. Isn't that nice? Jim Schultz is joining us. I thought I'd start the show, Jim, with a calming note.
Good.
Would you care to discuss our governor?
I would be happy.
Jim ran for Attorney General in 2022. Should have become the Attorney General. He did not. Maybe Trump will give you a call. You wrote before the election of Walz's shortcomings, and when they're written by someone with your knowledge and background, they really are stunning shortcomings, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Particularly in the financial world. His fiduciary responsibility has been, to me, non-existent.
100%. And, the people in this room, a lot of Minnesotans know just how much of a disaster Tim Walz has been. But, I wrote that piece to get that word out nationally a little bit. And it's difficult to know where to start, but of course the immense fraud in our state is, under his watch, hundreds of millions of dollars stolen, very little accountability, no accountability within his administration.
He's back in town. He has 2 years left on his term. It's very probable that he's learned something. We don't know if he has, but there are 87 counties in Minnesota. Trump won all but, 9 of them. Mm-hmm. Trump and Vance won all but 9. I went today to look at the governor's race map of 2022. It's virtually identical. Mm-hmm. Scott Jensen won all but 10 counties in 2022. So Walz essentially has been governing the metro area.
Yeah, 100%.
Will he change, I wonder?
It's a good question. You're right. I was looking at some of the numbers, from Tuesday. If you just pull out Hennepin County, Hennepin County is an important part of our state, not to dismiss it, but, Trump wins the rest of the state, including, Ramsey and the rest of the state. If you include all the numbers. So he has essentially been only governing the metro area. He lost his home county. And he's a fundamentally different person than when he was in Congress. He was, some people overstate how center left he was when he was in Congress, but he of course went hard left in his governance. And then and coming back here, I think it's a totally open question as to what he is. His level of engagement, he's on this high of being in these and as a national figure and stuff. And sometimes people come back and they're pretty disinterested and stuff. I would love for him to be just totally disengaged and for him just to go away. He's, anytime he's present, bad things happen to our state. So I'm not confident he will moderate. I think he, likes this role of being the the kind of liberal lion of the state, and so-called pushing our state forward and things like that.
But he's not pushing it forward.
Oh my gosh! In every way, he's pushing it back. I mean, economically, education, crime, you name it. He has been a complete and utter disaster for Minnesota by every metric. I can't believe that Kamala Harris picked him with a record as catastrophic as him. And
the economy in this state is not growing.
No, it's not. I mean, it's the slowest period of growth in Minnesota history. People that don't realize, our economy shrank in the first quarter of this year. In the second quarter of this year, we were 48th in the country. Mm-hmm. We routinely now are in the bottom 10 states of economic growth. In Minnesota, sometimes people think like, well, we're not the economic engine of what you name it, New York City or Florida or whatever. But the fact is, Minnesota has immense economic assets. The Fortune 100 companies that have been here historically, the workforce, the infrastructure, and so forth. The fact that we're not consistently just crushing it economically is just such an indictment of Tim Walz, of Mark Dayton, who preceded him. Walz.
But Dayton had a higher growth rate than Walz.
Absolutely, yes, yep. He had a higher growth rate than Walz. He didn't just go as nearly as hard left as Walz went on nearly every issue. Minnesota transitioned under Tim Walz from being kind of like a kind of one of those center left Democrat states where they do a lot of things that make us angry and make us scratch our heads, to being under Tim Walz just this kooky far left state like a California and Illinois. And I was happy to see Minnesotans react against that.
Did Minnesota have a brand nationally when people thought of Minnesota? Did Minnesota have a brand, do you think?
I think so.
What was the brand?
I think it was kind of this this
state
brand
that
of good
works?
governance. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The state that works, that you remember those headlines and so forth. And I think 2020 was the inflection point. It was our cities burning following the death of George Floyd. It was the Tim Walz sitting on his hands as that happened. And then, of course, the defund the police movement, launched into orbit by the Minneapolis City Council and so forth.
Even if the national audience was aware of Walz's shortcomings in terms of, let's just keep it to finances, I don't think that is the reason they lost. I don't think people vote for vice presidents.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. Like, I would put a handful of things,
Me too.
in front of them. I would say though, vice presidents rarely help, but they can hurt. And I do think he was, meaningfully.
I don't think he helped.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the reason they lost.
I agree. Yeah.
Now the DNC is throwing him under the bus. Yeah. They're desperate to have. They're looking for all sorts of reasons why Harris lost. They're yet to grasp the real reason, which is, as a party, they've just lost sight of America.
100%.
They've just lost sight of the country.
Yeah. I mean, people just resent, this way in which so many of just the average person, the working class person, the person who just doesn't go along with all this woke BS that's out there, the way they've been treated.
Case in point, Rookie's favorite show, The View, there was a clip that went viral yesterday. The one host that's somewhat sensible, she was pointing to the election numbers in a border city in Texas, saying it's 75% Latino, and they voted for Trump. And why do you think that is? And she's like, it's because of the border. And of course, another one says, no, it's misogyny. What world do you live in?
I saw that too. Joe Scarborough, was blaming Hispanic men and black men for it's like, wait, how is that acceptable? I mean, how is that accurate in any way? Yeah.
It's been clearly revealed that all politicians, but more so the left, are living on a rail of life independent from the rest of us. Particularly in the political class, where they enjoy privileges that the rest of us don't have, and they fight to cling to that power. And the longer and longer they've done that, the more distant they've grown from you and me and the hardware store owner in Wichita and the doctor and the school teacher and the Indian chief and everyone else in America. And they're going to have a come to Jesus meeting, and they're showing no signs of having it. Here is Lindy Lee, a DNC National Finance Committee and Pennsylvania commissioner, saying one of the things that are top of my mind is meaning why did she lose? One of the things that are top of my mind is the choice of Tim Walz as a vice presidential candidate. Lee said, a lot of people are saying that should have been Josh Shapiro. Frankly, people have been saying that for months. Lee said Shapiro's moderate record could have signaled to the American people that Harris is not the San Francisco liberal that Trump said she was, but she went with someone actually to her left. Walz was found to be more left than Harris.
Yep.
Lee said she was not sure how much Tim Walz contributed to the ticket as the campaign was forced into cleaning up his laundry list of gaffes. Gaffes are what polite people call lies. In the eyes of the American people, he was the governor who oversaw the protests in Minnesota and probably let it go on longer than he should have. So that has been seared in the minds of American people. If the governor had any, and this is the emailer Tim writing this, if the governor had any aspirations for higher office, they died Tuesday night. The rest of the country got to see what many Minnesotans already knew. That's true, and that's a national look without them having a grasp of what we're dealing with here financially.
Yep.
There's been no mention nationally of blowing the $18 billion surplus, the construction of an unneeded new billion-dollar office building, the food fraud scandals, the Medicaid fraud scandals, soon-to-be autism provision frauds, frontline worker fraud. That never got mentioned during the campaign because people were unaware of it.
Yep.
And he still came across more left than Harris.
Yes, that's right. You're right. I mean, there's like so much out there on him that some of the other stuff didn't get covered. And one thing that I found really hopeful about the outcome for the future of Minnesota, drilling down on the legislative results. Somebody sent this to me yesterday. If you just zoom out, despite the fact that the Democrat Party in our state has so much going for it. We all know the resources, so much of the media. There's good media, focused media out there, but so much of the media totally in the tank for Democrats and so forth. The aggregate legislative vote totally tied in this year. Again, people reacting against Tim Walz's leadership.
That has to thwart his agenda, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean now there's the tie in the House. It looks like it'll probably remain a tie, and that just totally puts to a screeching halt the Democrat agenda for the state, which is wonderful.
But if he cared about Minnesota, if he really cared about the people in the vast majority of the state, he would do things to make sure he's not going to leave us in financial desperation. And I'm not hopeful.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not hopeful either. I mean, I think at this point he's more interested in leaving a legacy of this like supposed fighter for liberalism and the progressive
what your
values
pronouns
and all
are?
that. Exactly.
I don't care. People in Minnesota don't care what your pronouns are. The people in the counties he governs apparently do.
100%. I think it's very short-sighted. I mean, I think people are going to look back in, it won't be too long, 5, 10, 15 years and view his governorship, particularly that 2023 legislative session where they did so much damage, as among the most reckless, irresponsible governance in Minnesota history. He's just been such a disaster, so irresponsible. I think it's going to be he's going to be viewed very disfavorably by history.
Do you think that? I wonder what his code name was for the Secret Service. Flannel, maybe.
I could think of some names. But,
air cleaner. You could call him air cleaner.
Air
cleaner's on the move.
Maybe? Knucklehead, maybe.
I don't know if you saw this, but he did put on his resume that he's the vice president. That was from the Babylon Bee.
Oh.
Nice.
That's something else that we learned. I don't know how you feel, Jim, but I felt that I really didn't know who this guy was. I didn't have a clue who this guy was. We're doofus trusting Minnesotans. He was the flannel shirt wearing, back slapping governor. I had no idea of his affection for China. Yeah. I had no idea of his propensity to lie. Yeah. I had and being polite Minnesotans, virtually all media in Minnesota never touched his National Guard controversy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was left alone because it was a Minnesota attitude that, well, thank you for your service.
Right.
And on and on and on. I knew nothing about this guy. Yeah. Did you?
I mean, there was, some of those like pieces, like there's like little bits here and there that kind of popped up, in the media occasionally. But you're right, we got such a fuller picture of who he is, and just the way he conducted himself on the campaign trail. He was frankly kind of goofy and just not a serious person out on the campaign trail.
I'm a knucklehead.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's just no, and I think you just have to say, I mean, there's, like I said earlier, there's great folks in the media in the state. People in this room know a lot of them, and there's really good people. Tom Hauser, I know, is in here occasionally and stuff. Great journalists and stuff. But boy, I mean, so much of the Minnesota media, having given him such a pass for so long, should be looking in the mirror today.
Well, for God's sakes, the publisher of the Star Tribune is virtually a Walz appointment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pathetic.
That's where that's where I start. I mean, I don't have an axe to grind with the Strib. I got a very fair shake from them. But boy, under his leadership, it is
talking about Steve Grove.
Steve Grove, yeah. Under his leadership, it's like I would open up the paper every day after Tim Walz was picked, and it's like, is Tim Walz a great pick or the greatest pick in the history of America? I mean, it was, what color ice cream does he like? I mean, it was just embarrassingly the fawning coverage of Tim Walz.
Their social media accounts were a joke.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah.
Even as recently as Walz failing to act competently during the George Floyd riots, it is my sense that Minnesotans still cut him slack.
Yep.
While he's our guy, there must be a reason we can't get that. Well, I think I now know better what the reason might have been.
Yeah.
He didn't want to call the National Guard.
Yeah. But I think too, Minnesotans need to have higher standards for their leaders. I mean, there's just way too much of this, like, well, they got a tough break, or whatever.
Golly,
it's just like where we are, like, we're nice people. We want to, believe the best about people, all that. And boy, but we've got to have higher standards, for our leaders, both Democrat, Republican, you name it.
I think we just stare at our shoes.
Yeah.
I think is the word phlegmatic.
Yeah.
We just stare at our shoes, and we were totally accepting of Walz. I'm just as much to blame as anybody else in the news gathering world. I never vetted him. I didn't when he was nominated for governor and won the election. I never looked him up. I never wondered anything about him. It was just, we had Rudy and we had Peleni and we had Arnie and we had Mark Dayton, and now we got Tim, America's dad. He likes flannel shirts.
Changes his air filter.
He's now our governor.
Stop speaking for me.
Yeah, I know you've had Walz derangement syndrome.
From day one.
Jim, during COVID, I was cutting Walz slack.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
And these guys around me tried to tell me I was wrong, and I poo-pooed them. But I kept saying things like, Walz didn't ask for this pandemic. He's got to do what he's got to do. But then you begin to peel away the layers of his behavior during the pandemic. And I just began to wonder what he even tried a snitch line.
I know it.
That was active for at least, 2 years after the pandemic?
Mother of God.
Right.
Kept the emergency powers in place.
Now people fear, of course, the left, rather than do any soul searching at all. They fear that they're in for authoritarianism now and a dictator and a mass deep. I don't think Trump can do 99 and 9/10% of the things he said he'd do. It depends who he puts around him. And he got a woman who I know nothing about.
Yep.
Is it Susan Wiles?
Yeah.
To be chief of staff, who seems to have a credible work history, working with other people. Yeah. Maybe she can get to him.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, she, as you know, was at the head of the campaign and so forth. And it seems by all accounts, I don't have any inside information here, but just the public accounts, that she really, ran that campaign. That he was very deferential. That was, it's Trump, but it was very deferential to her and stuff. And that she really had a really good working relationship with him. And so that could be a really strong relationship, I think, in the White House.
Well, she's old enough to be Frau Bueller. She's old enough to crack the whip, don't you think? I mean, she's not a babe.
Yeah.
I don't mean that disrespectfully. She's a seasoned woman.
Yeah.
And maybe she doesn't suffer fools gladly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, too. I mean, there's something to be said for the person who doesn't need the job. She doesn't need it. She's been incredibly successful. And so, she can go in there
live in Florida, where she's from.
Right, yeah. She's been incredibly successful in her life. She could, go back to that tomorrow. So I think that gives her a little bit of, authority in the positions.
What are you doing at the time, this time with your life?
So, on the family front, got the 3 daughters. We got a 4th on the way here come February. So very excited about that. Actually, a little boy, our first boy. So excited there. So I'm, we're getting prepped and ready for that. We've been building the past year and a half, as you know, the Minnesota Private Business Council. We've been really, we've grown exponentially since the last time we talked. We now have businesses who are members all around the state, executives. that we're just trying to be a voice for sanity in the state, around crime, around the economy, and otherwise. And then we engage politically too, and we invested a lot to in those Minnesota House races to try to elect a Minnesota House.
Paid off.
Yeah, it paid off. That's right. Very proud of that. And then now we got to pivot to hopefully a session where where the brakes are put on the lunacy in St. Paul. Exactly. Yeah.
And he's got to come up with a budget.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. That's right. And where the spending was so egregious in the past couple of years, they're gonna and some of that a lot of that money dried up now from the federal government and all that. And so there's a lot to be done, a lot to figure out. But we need there's just so much to be done for anybody in our state who looks at what's happening and says this is crazy. We got to do things differently. And what I'm just trying to do out there is to be a voice, to be one voice out there.
You will run again for something. What will it be?
We'll see here. We got to get there on that family piece of it before my wife Molly is a saint, but she also is someone who doesn't like her husband being gone.
I don't know what you're complaining about. I have 4 girls under 12 in my house.
Yeah, is that right?
It's just calm as all can be.
That's right. Exactly. Yes, we got a lot going on, but.
He's running a small daycare center in his home. Right. Is what he's talking about.
There's a lot of people calling about potentially running for something in 26. The big piece is that family piece of it, and then
your family,
my family piece of it. Yep, exactly. One way or another, I'm going to stay in the fight. I just can't. This state is on the precipice of as we all know of going to some really just becoming a total economic backwater and so forth, and so many other different things. The education system, crime, you name it. So, I'll stay in the fight one way or another, and I'll run if we can get there on the family side, and if I feel like there's a path to me being a positive contributor.
So you're saying you would be part of Governor Royce White's campaign?
Yeah, that's right.
What a stupid nomination that was.
Sorry, Jim, I didn't mean to put you in a bad spot.
Jim, please visit us anytime.
Well, thank you.
It's great to have you.
It's a pleasure to be with you. As you guys know, I love you guys. I've been listening to you all my life, so appreciate it.
And it's the Minnesota Business Council.
Yeah, Minnesota Private Business Council.
Minnesota Private Business Council. What's the website?
It is growthmn.com.
Growthmn.com.
We'll put a link on the show today.
Thank you.
Well. Thank you, guys.
Why don't you take us out here for a moment?
spends hours in hardware stores,
Never heard
sifting
this
through the
song
nuts
before.
and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Get on that website, make that phone call, ShermanPoleBuildings.com. They can meet all of your pole shed needs. I don't care if it's just a cool little toy box at your property up north or down south to stash your fossil fuel-powered cylinders, or if it's a big old pole shed you're putting right next to your other big old pole shed to store all your machinery in. You've seen barn doors everywhere. That's what I want to talk about. I love these things. They're part storage, part living space. But through the years, they've evolved, and they've evolved into regular homes. And that's where ShermanPoleBuildings.com comes in. They can do everything from small cabin-style units all the way up to swank luxury homes. It all depends on you and what you want. And how you want it finished. If you even want it finished. If you just want a shell and you want to do it yourself, that's fine. If you want it turnkey, they can do that too, because Sherman Pole Buildings is a general contractor. They can do it all in-house. That means you walk in, move right in, start making turkey gravy, and life will be grand. It's really easy. Sherman Pole Buildings, they can help with the financing too. They have a variety of banks that they've been using for years, and it's not as hard as you may have heard. Insurance, we're hearing rumors that insurance on your barn door might be a little cheaper than it was on your house. Go to ShermanPoleBuildings.com, learn all about them. Quality erections since 1976.
I knew Jim was coming in, and I knew we could have a fairly uplifting conversation, which we did. But I found my eye attracted today to positive news. There's so many people in the country who are down in the dumps, and yet the sun came up today. It was gorgeous. And I'm wondering, Reavers,
Yes, sir.
if you could play those bells again for us.
Sure.
These are the bells at Notre Dame that are, and we were on the air when that fire broke out at Notre Dame. And here are the bells ringing for the first time in, 2019?
5 years?
6 and 5 is 4.
Stupid question, but
Long
serious. Are these the same bells?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's nice.
Man, remember how just gut-wrenching that
It was.
footage was?
When that the steeple
When it tipped-
steeple fell.
oh.
Yeah.
There are 8 bells that are in the northern belfry. The cathedral itself will reopen in 1 month. That follows 5 years of restoration work, and that was truly a restoration because it was done in the manner of the way it was originally built. That was on April 19th, 2019, when that fire broke out.
Do they have a new Quasimodo?
I
So
knew
did
I'd leave it to you to ruin the atmosphere.
Did they
Quasi
have?
bleeping moto.
Sanctuary.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Did they have to learn how to do it the way they did it then? Because it seems those antiquated methods would be.
Some of the pieces I've read over the years, bits and pieces, suggested to me that they were trying to turn the wood the way it was turned in the day, and they were trying to make joists and
Okay, but they would still have to have code now. They would need some kind of fire code, wouldn't they?
You can waive that.
Oh.
I don't know. The 2019 fire destroyed part of the northern belfry, which we heard the bells ringing from today, requiring it to be restored, and the bells were removed, cleaned of dust and lead, and then returned. The heaviest bell is called Gabriel. It weighs more than 4 tons.
Wow.
Wow. Jean-Marie weighs 800 kilograms. There's going to be a weekend of ceremonies for Notre Dame's reopening December 7 and 8 in case you're in Paris. But wouldn't that be lovely to be on hand?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Is the spire that's back in place?
Yes. Notre Dame is expected to welcome 14 to 15 million visitors annually after reopening. That's compared to 12 million in 2017 before the fire. So, also on a positive note, let's clear up the missing 20 million ballots. John Haidt went home yesterday and dug into this, and it turns out they are not missing. John produced a site called Verify, That sounds like
There-
a
and
trustworthy
many
site.
sites.
Many sites.
Well, Verify's the one you like, remember, on Channel
yeah,
11.
yeah.
You know them.
Yeah,
And it was
it-
on many sites. It wasn't just on Verify.
Well, what it turns out is 14 million votes are still being counted. Well, there's 14.
Well, as of yesterday, according to the sources, Verify being one of them, they were 16.7 million short of 2020.
Right.
That's as of noon yesterday. And there were still 14 million at least out, which
That
means at
gets
this
it down
point
to
we're
6.
No, it gets down to 2.
2 missing. Yes.
16.7. 16.7 minus 14 would be 2.7 would be. And they're not missing.
They're not missing. They just weren't there.
That's odd terminology.
Right.
And as I'm doing research on this, the ironic part is both sides, and this drives me nuts, and you guys know it, misinformation drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Both sides are using this as misinformation to prove, quote, their points. The left is saying, well, the Republicans must have somehow taken 20 million votes and hid them,
Right.
and they should have gone to Harris.
Right.
And the right is saying, well, this proves in 2020 that 20 million votes extra were counted. And it doesn't prove
either.
point. And no, and it drives me nuts. I'll just be quiet at that point.
No, you don't need to be quiet. You did the homework. Using the current AP estimate of the percent of votes counted, Verify found that 20 of the 50 states, plus Washington, D.C., still have more than 16.2 million ballots left to be counted as of Wednesday afternoon. At
And
the
they're
time
still
of
counting this morning. I just
Right.
looked it up before the show to make sure.
most of the states still counting, a significant number of ballots have already been called for a candidate due to statistical analysis. The uncounted ballots will therefore not change the results of the Electoral College.
Correct.
I don't think we have a mystery here at all.
No, I don't either.
There's no mystery at all. It was fun for 5 minutes.
I was going to say, you know what, though? Those people that read that and are writing online about it,
Yeah.
they don't care. That's now fact to them.
Okay.
It'll never change.
Right.
And the last, 8 years, that's how things have gone, and that's how they're going to continue to go. That's now a fact to some people.
May I ask a dumb question? You
That's
said
my rule.
14.
What would be the distinction between
That's
your
my
other
rule.
votes?
See,
Yeah.
that's just not necessary.
I know it isn't. I'm
That
sorry.
was- that was
I know
mean.
what? I'm sorry if you were offended.
You know what,
Yeah.
Joe? Working with you as long as I have, I'm not offended.
Okay, thank you.
So you said 14 million, John? Is that was that the number you said?
We're
16.2.
outstanding still.
We're outstanding. Okay, then why did they call it so early then? You see what I'm saying?
You had enough for the electoral votes.
Okay.
And the state, from voting trends and stuff, they know what, like on TV when you watch on election night,
Yep.
those aren't all counted when they call states, right? You're aware of that.
Oh, I guess I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, they're not all counted, but they go with trends in certain areas. Like in Minnesota, the rural areas, if that's all that's left, well, they know those are going to go mostly to the Republican candidate. Or if an urban area is left, they're going to go to a Democratic candidate.
Huh.
So, it's all, there's no way on earth, in other words. And plus, California was called for Harris right away. And there's still, I don't know, 15% of the vote left to count as of this morning.
Wow.
Well, it's not going to be enough to amass enough votes.
Let's clear
for
something
somebody else
else
to do
up, John. Let's clear something else up on this day of loveliness and positivity.
Yeah.
Sounds like Trump.
No,
Day
I
of
don't.
loneliness and positivity.
We said the other night, we watched in fascination John King and his magic board showing Jake Tapper that Harris did not win a single county in the country. Isn't that correct? Isn't it?
No.
She didn't outgain Biden.
Oh, that was it. Okay, I'm
2020.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
2020.
there was no county in America where she did better than Biden did in 2020.
I think the phrase they
because I was
used-
going to say she won 9 counties in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
the phrase
and that was I looked it up right away. I remember there were 58 counties. Actually, a guy sent me a note, and I don't remember his name. There were 58 counties where she was at that time doing better than Biden did in 2020.
I have the clip right here. Here we go.
Are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming in 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
By 3% or more.
Outperform.
But if you continue,
Yeah.
if you continue that clip, which the guy sent me, he widens the thing King does, and there were 58 counties at that time where she was outperforming Biden.
Oh, okay.
So it was because he had a narrow scope.
He had a condensed map.
But 58 is nothing when
That's
you think
nothing.
about it. In the United States, that's nothing.
Well, continuing the positive news, NPR, it's a Kathy Werzer piece, is going to, or they already, Kenny?
Yeah, it's already out.
They have a play.
A radio play.
A radio play.
Really? Theater of the Mind.
On the final radio messages of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
It starts when it was leaving Duluth and the Anderson was leaving Two Harbors.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's radio conversation and then pilot to chief conversation between all of them, all the way right up until the sinking.
Is Tim Russell helping it out?
No, but somebody who I didn't realize I loved him as much as I did when I heard him, Dave Nimmer is
he's an old
featured on
salt.
this.
Yeah.
And for some reason, his voice brings me great comfort.
He sounds like he'd be a good captain of the ship.
He is
like
the
that.
narrator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Minnesota writer Hal Barnes is responsible for this play. I had not heard of Hal, but congratulations. I'm jealous. I want to be in these. Didn't some of the old gang from CCO just put on a radio play?
They might have. I was involved.
I want to be I want to be invited.
Yeah. I was involved with one with My Talk a few years ago, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
What did you guys do, Ken?
War of the Worlds.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I remember seeing those clips. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Joe, the one you're talking about, didn't they do Frankenstein, I think, for Halloween?
Maybe
with
they
Don
did.
Shelby and some
Maybe
other-
they did.
Joe, I have to warn you, and I want to be as friendly and optimistic as positive as possible here. I'm just going to say, the acting here, we're not going to win an Emmy or any kind of what is the thing you lose every year?
Marconi.
Yeah, they're not going to win a
What do you
Marconi.
lose every year? Nice.
There's no Oscar for this. Some of the acting,
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, you said
No,
that.
I'm saying it. It's terrible. Well, Captain, the breeze is getting stiffer.
No, it's,
Even so,
it's worse than that.
I want to hear what they really would have
It's worse
said.
than that. Here's an example. Hey, isn't that the doorbell? Oh, whoops.
Well,
No,
it's
my
not
hat's off to
quite
these guys. It sounds
bad.
fun. I haven't heard it yet. I want to hear
Well,
it.
here, I have a clip.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Gumbinger, to our talk. It's a pleasure to have you on
All right.
the phone.
Okay, to show you what a nerd I am. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm admitting this. After I finished the radio play this morning, I listened to the Gordon Light
Oh, yeah.
song.
America.
Such a doofus.
The anniversary is this Sunday, November
Yes.
10th, the 1975 sinking of the F. Scott Fitzgerald.
I learned something.
I mean, the Edmund Fitzgerald.
The
Terry
reason
Train
Thank you, Terry.
famously called it which I think was one of the
Scott
greatest
Fitzgerald.
lines I've ever heard on radio.
the Fox That Rocks. They didn't send out a distress call because it wouldn't be the manly thing to do. He didn't want those people up in the air. He didn't want them searching for them. And if by some chance he didn't sink, he didn't want to live with the humiliation of sending out a distress call. That's the captain.
Is that true, or is that the
No, that's
play?
true. That's well, it's in the play.
Right. How do I listen to the play?
I
just go online to their site.
I just told John to Google.
I found it right away. It's easy.
What did you do? You Googled radio play, Edmund
I
Fitzgerald?
Googled radio play Edmund Fitzgerald wreck
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
words to that effect. And then a story came up about how it was written, etc. And then at the bottom, there's a link where you can just play it.
Yeah.
Every photograph of that ship, I find eerie.
Yeah. Hark,
Kenny,
who
are you
goes
sure
there?
about
'Twas
that?
that Dave Nimmer.
You sure about that in the play? Because I thought the captain wired in, he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew was in peril.
See, I had
So
to
you
listen
sure
to the
that's true?
songs. I
For
had to
accuracy.
listen.
He was checking the accuracy, research and development.
And you could tell Gordon wrote the song before we had all the details, because some of the details and then what he says in the song a little bit different.
You know, I was just looking up, Joe. Kenny is actually spot on. they have already announced the 2025 Marconi entries, and you already lost to the
the Edmund Fitzgerald play.
Yeah, you've already
Good.
lost.
I'm proud to
This
lose
is a
to
new
that.
Guatemalan podcast.
Yeah, we don't have
right?
to go to Houston now. To
Yeah, I'm not
accept our
going
defeat.
anywhere.
Houston, we have a problem.
Well, and then I have
The best part about that Mischke call was the guy called Tommy Joe. He thought he was
Yes,
talking
hey,
to
Joe, how you
Joe.
doing?
Yeah.
Well, Joe.
Do you know that just in time for Christmas,
What?
we have launched the Gumption County Gift Shop?
That's right.
I mean, this is a new and expanded gift shop.
I got to go online. My brother needs a shirt.
You can get. Who wrote this? Kyle used the word iconic. Foghorn.
Kyle, we can't
Foghorn
Love
Gimp.
Kyle.
Jeez, Kyle. You can get your Spoon Lake T-shirt, which was brand new for 2024, and it's sold out at the state fair. It's made in Gumption County. We've got the #1 in Anguilla shirt. We got the Failed Academy sweatshirt. It's all at the Gumption County Gift Shop, and you can check it out at GarageLogic.com.
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
Okay, I got some new info on EcoFund.
Talk to me.
Because that sale date of November 4th came and went, but here the deal is. Japan has ordered its dealers to clear out these bikes so they can bring in the new ones. Now, EcoFund has about 50 bikes left. The Yamaha warehouse is completely out of stock because EcoFund has sold more than 250 bikes since September 3rd when the sale started. But you can still get these crazy good deals because there's 250 bikes left. There still might be a riding season left. These are 2023 and 2024 models. Well, they're the Cross-Core RC, the full suspension Moro mountain bike. Colors and sizes are on a first-come basis. In addition, at EcoFun in Forest Lake and Burnsville, all Italian motorcycles and scooters are marked down for the end of the season. And there is limited space left for winter storage of your scooter, motorcycle, or electric bike. Call today to make arrangements. 612-321-8867. And a final note about winter. After 50 years of production, the final edition Yamaha snowmobiles are in stock and ready to find a new home. These are reliable four-stroke sleds, and each one will have a little badge on it that says Final Edition.
Are you telling me that Yamaha is no longer making snowmobiles?
This is the last year.
I am shocked. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
And they started
right now. I did inventory for you. I currently own 4 Yamaha snowmobiles. Yep. I have owned, after just a loose inventory count, over 20 Yamaha snowmobiles in my lifetime.
Unfortunately, EcoFan has Yamahas on sale. I don't know where you got yours or what
they're
brand
Yamahas. That's what they're
brand those
as
are.
Up
but
here.
Yamaha started sleds in 68, and 57 years later, its lineup consists of 16 Final Edition models. If you want to have fun, get to EcoFun Motorsports.
440 won the Eagle River Derby.
They're in Forest Lake, just west of Interstate 35 on Highway 97, and down in Burnsville on the Service Road of Life, near County Road 42, EcoFunMotorsports.com.
Joe, if I remember right, it was Mike Trapp on a Yamaha 440 beat Von Duhamel on a big old 700 Skidoo.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder how the Yamahas did in that race.
Yeah, I don't think that team was there.
All right.
Because they were only racing Yamahas, weren't they?
Yeah.
Here's John Haidt in his newsroom.
5960.
There you go.
Thank you, Joe. Boy, that's a lot of Yamahas to own during your life, Kenny. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
This news is.
Do you have a life? Have you figured out your lifetime CI? I never have.
Me?
It would be
I don't think
impossible.
it'd be possible.
It'd be impossible.
I do have a list of motorcycles, though, somewhere.
I do, too. And I have a list of all the cars I've owned. I could do that cylinder index, yeah.
I got it.
Too much. I don't have that kind of time. Who's got that kind of time?
Maybe. Yeah. I got a list of guitars, but that doesn't count.
Well, there's a guitar index somewhere in the vault.
I got a list of my best burgers.
John Haidt in the newsroom.
Well, thank you, Kenny. Kenny.
Hi,
Thank you, Joe.
I'm Joe.
Goodness gracious.
Hi, Kenny.
This news update brought
Kenny.
to you by North American Banking Company. Police in Duluth are investigating after 5 people, including 2 juveniles, were found dead from gunshot wounds inside 2 separate homes yesterday. Law enforcement initially found a 47-year-old woman and a juvenile dead inside a home in the 6,000 block of Tacony Street from multiple apparent gunshot wounds. Police then identified a suspect, set up a perimeter at his home. Upon making entry into the home, law enforcement found a 45-year-old woman and another juvenile dead from multiple gunshot wounds. The suspect, identified as a 46-year-old man, was also found dead in that home from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Law enforcement says the victims and suspect were known to each other. There is no danger to the public. The identities of the victims and suspect have not yet been released. More information expected to be released later today. And Owatonna man is in custody after genetic genealogy linked him to a 1974 murder of a Minneapolis woman who was found in Dunn County. 84-year-old John Miller was arrested for the murder of Mary Schultz, who was found dead in Springbrook Township February 16, 1974. At that time, an investigation revealed that Schultz was hitchhiking from Minneapolis to Chicago for an art show. Dunn County Sheriff's Office law enforcement says they received numerous tips and leads during the decade since her body was found. As DNA technology advanced, officials retested evidence found at the scene multiple times. In collaboration with the Ramapo College in Maui, New Jersey, genetic genealogy testing revealed a suspect, which led to Miller's arrest. Miller is in custody currently and awaiting extradition to Wisconsin. Hunters in Minnesota will get their first opportunity for firearms deer hunting tomorrow. More than 400,000 hunters are expected to hit the field this weekend, and the deer populations, according to the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, look very good. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Gorecki with the DNR said the mild winter and a good spring have been beneficial to deer populations, and it's not just the deer population that's increased. He recommends hunters purchase their licenses ahead before the season starts. That would mean today, obviously. He obviously recommends everyone along hunting grounds, whether they're hunting or not, to wear blaze orange or other fluorescent colors. Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan will be holding the deer hunting opener in Sandstone today at 5 p.m.
Is a 10-pointer a good buck?
Wait a minute. I think everybody just missed what John said.
I heard it.
Not the governor.
No.
The lieutenant governor.
Yeah, there was a video, Kenny, this morning of her purchasing her
I saw that.
license.
Is a 10-point buck a good-sized buck?
Yeah, if it's got a few years on them, sure.
It's one in my yard the other night.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it's just...
You counted the points?
You got deer. There ain't no shortage of deers.
In Highland
Do
Park.
you guys have any problems with black flies, house flies?
Not at this time of year.
I opened up one of my deer stands yesterday. The entire carpet was covered with dead black flies.
I think
And
that's
the
a hygienic
walls-
problem.
The walls and the ceilings, and it was gross.
Joe?
And I went out there this morning. I swept them off the ceiling. I vacuumed the whole thing out. And when I left, they were flying back in. I don't know where they're coming from. It's biblical. It's like a plague.
Joe, please describe for me what the carpet inside the deer stand looks like in your mind's eye, please.
Well, first of all, it's terribly stained. Wherever it would be terribly stained, and it's of some unknown color, because whatever the color might have originally been, that's long gone.
Okay.
That's long gone.
Layer after layer.
And it's not necessarily shag, and it's not necessarily a real close cut pile.
Okay.
But it's kind of in between.
A little small weight,
Just
not
long
shag.
enough to have captured God knows
Black
what kind
flies
of
from the
entrails and guts and it's just horrible. It's
the
just
kind
horrible.
of carpet that if you want to sit on it, you throw down a piece of cardboard.
Exactly.
Right. And that vacuum he used to suck up all the flies, he should just throw that away
Get
now.
rid
It's
of
pretty
it.
much
Get
infected.
rid of
Well,
it.
Matthew, it's sitting over by the shop outside, and I'm wondering, do you think they're flying back out of the vacuum?
Yes. They can smell them all.
It was so gross. Oh.
Thank you.
Or if you drop a little food, you just kind of
just kind of like
I don't
smudge
understand
in.
it. None of the other deer stands were like that. It was just this one that sits out in the hot sun.
Doesn't sound like someplace I'd want to take a nap if I'm tired, you know?
No.
Do you have to put this thing on a tree?
No, it's an enclosed, actually a manufactured
One of those
deer
deals
stand.
where you're saying to the deer, pay no attention to this shack.
It's on, it's on 4x4 poles. It's
I'll
8
be in
feet
here,
the
but
air.
never mind.
A couple of my buddies went deer hunting years ago, and they just berated some 16-year-old girl because she was riding her horse with no orange.
Oh, fail.
At all. Like, what in the hell are you doing?
Jeez.
And it was the morning of the deer hunting
Oh,
opener.
my God.
So I wasn't going to reveal this, and I told John this briefly before the show. I was out in a different section of the woods this morning, and a neighbor's dog was out there running around. The neighbor was called, and the neighbor said, I can't believe this. If that thing is out there running around tomorrow, go ahead and shoot it.
Oh,
Is
no.
it sick?
No.
Well, I wouldn't shoot it.
I don't think I have the heart.
No, of course you don't.
But I mean,
That's pretty. Do you know these neighbors? Are they?
yeah, they're from Russia.
Well, there you are.
Oh, boy.
There it is. Commies
You
again.
can
eh?
shoot.
What the hell? They're probably going to eat the damn thing.
It's a whole different, one of their ostriches got away a few
They
years
have
ago.
ostriches.
Wait a minute.
What world do you? Where are you
Things
anyway?
got weird when she moved in. Things got really weird.
You got a dog that they want you to shoot. In the meantime, an ostrich is walking along,
Let's go meet the new neighbors.
checking out a deer stand that's contaminated with black flies.
And she tracked this thing down about 4 miles away and just shot it. and then put a rope around
This is
its
the commie?
long
The
neck.
commie?
Yeah, and drug it back to the farm.
I don't trust it.
Whenever a cow dies over there, they just drag it to the end of the driveway, and it just lays there until the rendering truck
Till it floats and blows up?
Yeah, I've got pictures. Yeah, I take pictures
Do
every
they-
time.
Do they?
Here's Kenny.
Do they bathe?
I don't know, but they took a showpiece home that was absolutely the envy of the county, and now it's the ghetto.
You know, I'm getting the what am I looking for?
I don't know.
I'm getting the sense that in Kenny's neighborhood, he's the normal one.
That's really frightening.
Yeah.
How many times the rest of our lives will we hear, one of my neighbor's ostriches got loose?
Never.
How many times in
Never.
our life
Never.
will we hear
It's
that?
never
But it
come
was,
up.
I thought it was so weird because that's a very exotic animal, and you shot it.
Aren't they really
Killed
mean?
it, yeah.
Am I right?
I don't know. I don't know
The
anything
commie
about
ones
them.
are.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about
Got
that.
ourselves a commie ostrich.
Can you imagine Such? He won't go in the backyard when a turkey wanders through.
Hell
What would
no.
he do with one
Right.
of those 9-foot
I'm
ostriches?
hiding.
Staring at you through the window.
Go on, get out there and see about that.
Yeah, 'cause things get weird over here.
In other news,
Jesus,
the
I'm
yearly
never going near
CP
that place. That sounds
Yeah, I was gonna-
frightening.
stop and visit on the way home to Bismarck at some point, but I don't think I'm going
No,
to.
stay away.
The yearly CPKC holiday train and Holiday Express will start rolling on the
John,
tracks. to
you and
spread
I
holiday-
were on the same wavelength today. I had that. I had the deer season. I tried to find proof of life going on, of life continuing despite the election of a fascist, as he is called. As he is called.
Yes. Anyway, the holiday
First thing the
train will make
fascists did, by the way, not very fascist-like, he said, let's have a party. You all heard that. He wants a 250th birthday party for
250th.
America with each state represented with its own stand or booth or something. I think it sounds
Exhibit.
nifty.
I think it was called Exhibit.
I think it sounds nifty.
It does. It does sound really cool.
Yeah.
And then we talked about a little bit with Jim, he appointed the first female chief of staff. ever.
Right.
So,
And I'm rooting for that woman to maybe she has his ear. I don't know.
yeah.
I did see a comedian tweet out something very funny saying Trump would really get all the lefties going if he declared himself he now identifies as a woman,
Yeah.
being the first female president.
Oh,
that would
really
be
funny. Yes.
He's got the sense of humor to do that.
Oh, that would be spectacular. They would all lose their
A
minds
tremendous
again.
woman. Tremendous.
I'm the first tremendous woman.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you.
Anyway,
I'm gonna get you.
Anyway, the CPKC holiday train starts. Let's see. It starts November 22nd, and it makes its way across parts of the U.S., including Minnesota. The holiday train starts in Maine. It'll be in Wisconsin from December 7th through the 9th, and from there, it rolls through Minnesota. It'll stop in 20 cities over the course of 7 days. The train ends with a few stops in North Dakota. Holiday trains are scheduled to stop at all locations for 30 minutes. If you'd like a list of where the train is appearing, our friends at 5 Eyewitness News have a list.
Look
on
at
their
this,
website.
John.
That
I
website.
have. How do you get this
You
on
do.
the tubes? See,
Yeah,
John,
it's
I went to the
supposed
same thing and thinking, well, isn't that lovely? I mean, life does go on, and we have a holiday train coming. And as John said, yes, Channel 5 has a schedule. When will it be? Let me look and tell you when it will be locally in the
go through
Walls-governed
Staples?
counties.
Staples or
Let's see.
Glenwood?
I don't know where you are, and now I really don't want to know, but I can take a guess pretty close to where you are. You anywhere near, well, Alexandria, for God's sakes, December 15th.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
St. Paul, December 11th. Minneapolis, December 12th. And you got Loretto, Buffalo, Annandale, Kimball, Glenwood, Alec, Detroit Lakes, Monoman, Plummer, Thief River Falls, and Elbow Lake. That's fantastic. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Isn't this this has been done before though, right?
Yeah, I go down to see it
they-
every time it comes to town.
Every year.
That's what I thought. It is annual.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know I've seen it.
Down by the river.
I seen it.
Because
Them ain't the same
seen
cars
it?
every
well,
year,
no,
though.
Jess's mom used to live in Buffalo.
No,
and
I seen different
We
cars.
went to it one year when it was.
Well, we
going
used to
through
come to
town.
St. Paul.
That's where I seen it.
Yeah, I seen them there too.
Yeah.
I like Buffalo, Chris. I realize we're still doing the show and nobody cares, but I like Buffalo. We
It's a
visit
neat
there
town.
often.
Yeah, it's a neat town.
It is. Yeah, I like it. Other news.
Well, I can tell you when it's
especially-
going to be in Buffalo. December 14th, 5th Street Northeast.
It's driving on the street?
Buffalo, December 14th.
Why would it be to Buffalo the day before Alexandria?
Well,
that's going the other way.
It's got tracks.
So it's not coming. It's going.
I don't know where it's going.
Dinosaur
It's going
train.
from Maine to North Dakota.
Oh, there we go. So she's going that way, Joe.
Yep.
A special election has been triggered in Itasca County after voters elected a dead man to fill the open commissioner seat. Michael Burl Ives died back in September at the age of 57. He had
Burl
already been
Ives.
serving as well, it's a Burl's a nickname, apparently.
Yeah.
He had already been serving as the Itasca County Commissioner for District 4 at the time of his death, but even though he was dead, he won his race on Tuesday by more than 2,000 votes.
Well, the people are idiots.
Since I
That's
was one.
mean.
No, I know it's
Yeah, all
mean,
you
but they're
folks
idiots.
out there in Itasca County, folks.
Isanti and Itasca are your two I counties.
Or-
and look, at 2,000 of you voted for a dead guy.
Or
What are you, nuts?
is it because the person they were voting against wasn't qualified for the position, Mr. Mayor?
Well, you
yeah,
what?
what
So
if-
the dead guy, you're going to prop him up in the chair?
Well, yeah, if you
What
don't
if
want to
they're-
vote for
yeah,
some
they're trying
whack
to prove a
job.
point.
Yeah.
Joe.
See, and I thought that too, Chris, so I purposely didn't say his name just in case. The fella he defeated. Since Ives won, it now triggers a special election. As for when exactly that would happen, county leaders say it would depend on how many candidates file to run for the office.
Joe, sometimes you remind me of another person that really, really hates rural Minnesota, and he somehow found his way into the governor's office.
Hey now.
Very much the
I
same.
love rural Minnesota. I just don't love where you are, apparently.
Ooh. Well, stay away from her.
It sounds
Well,
way too frightening.
That's understandable.
Looking out your window and you're seeing some ostrich walk by, and holy mackerel, there's a dead cow at the end of the driveway.
Hey, yeah, stop by. If you see an ostrich, could you do me a favor and shoot it?
Yeah, shoot that thing.
Shoot
And by
it.
the way, my dog's out there. Shoot that if
thing
you
is
see
out
it.
again.
We just figured it out, Ken. That's where all the black flies came from. They were hovering around the dead cow.
Yeah.
And they wandered over to the deer
Classic.
stand.
I'm surprised you didn't go over there and try to carve a piece off to see if it was edible.
Oh, my God.
Give me the back
Little
strap
steak.
off that thing.
Oh.
In national and international news, President-elect Trump naming Susie Wiles, as we told you earlier, to be his chief of staff. Wiles is a longtime GOP operative and advisor to Trump, will be the first woman to hold that position in American history. Wiles is credited with tightening up Trump's campaign operations after his 2020 loss and helping him win both the Electoral College and the national popular vote on Tuesday. That's an achievement, that popular vote, one that's eluded Republican candidates for president for 20 years. Meanwhile, control of the U.S. House still up for grabs. Counting of ballots still happening in California, Arizona, and a couple other states. 3 days after Election Day, that counting's still going on. That's, see, folks, why there's not really 20 million missing. Leave several important races remaining too close to call, leaving neither party with a clear majority.
Are they
As
doing
expected.
it by hand? Are they like 59, 60?
Isn't Arizona, didn't they vote to do part of it? I don't know.
I think
I
so.
thought so, too.
Yes, because
John?
they said it was going to take much
Well,
longer.
but
Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
John, as long
Yes.
as we were on the same wavelength, you covered the deer, you covered the holiday train. Did you get the record muskie? Caught a Mille Lacs.
I did not do the record muskie. I did see the story, but I did not grab it.
54-inch muskie
Holy
caught on
crap.
Mille Lacs. October 29, a guy named, what the hell is his name? Art Weston. It's potentially setting an IGFA all-tackle length world record.
And
What's
that's why-
IGFA?
That's why you
International
don't
Game Fishers
see any
Association.
walleyes in Mille Lacs anymore.
The record is currently pending and under review. Weston did release the fish safely, but not before a photograph. A massive fish.
Holy
Look at that.
Toledo.
54 inches long.
Holy musky Batman.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Another dumb question. Do people fish this late in the year?
For muskie, I guess you do.
Oh,
Yeah, it's prime musky fishing.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Are they good eating? I bet not. They
They
look
seem
too
tough.
too bony.
I don't like fish anyway.
Anyway, that proves the life's still going on. There was a guy fishing.
You know? I'll tell you how life is going. Seriously,
Thank
time
you,
out.
everybody.
Here's how
You're
life is
all
going.
really great.
45-minute wait at the airport this morning at about 5:30 a.m.
For what?
just for
Just
people
to get the hell
to get
out of here?
T2, and then T1 was packed as well.
Oh, we
why
go
that
with the
is.
T's, huh?
People are
T1,
Too early for
T2.
Thanksgiving.
well. It is a holiday weekend because
is?
Veterans Day is Monday.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, you're right.
So it's not like Memorial Day, but still, everybody's flying. That is people getting back to normal.
Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 25 basis points yesterday, its second straight reduction since September, in a move that was largely expected. Additional rate cuts aren't as clear, though, as the new president, Donald Trump's proposed widespread tariffs might slow down the Fed's plans. Economists have said that Trump's 10 to 20% blanket tariff on most imported goods might cause inflation to flare up as producers and importers pass the cost of the tax on to consumers. That would mean, of course, the interest rates would not fall again. Meanwhile, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said yesterday he would not resign if President-elect Trump asked him to. Asked whether he would step down amid chatter that Trump's advisors had suggested he do so, Powell replied, no. Powell also said he was not legally required to leave if asked to do so. Powell's term is scheduled to end in May of 2026. He was appointed by Donald Trump in 2017.
Hey, up there in Sleepy Hollow, do you ever get a headless horseman flying by holding a lantern?
No.
That'd freak me out.
No, but the neighbors' cows get into our woods from time to time.
There it is. Cows in the woods.
It's classic.
That's it.
Classic case.
That's what happens when the Russians move in.
And my other neighbor's bull was out on the highway a couple of weeks ago. I helped him get that thing back in the...
We don't have a bull.
We don't have a bull.
We have a cow.
No, the other way around.
Whatever.
No, the other way around.
I don't know. Never mind.
Because get it like he
Did
milked
you
the
guys,
ball.
When you see the ostrich, do you feel a strong urge to buy insurance?
No.
Okay.
No, I've never actually seen the ostrich,
Okay.
to be clear.
Well, them ain't out there all the time.
But have you guys ever tried to corral cows or chase a bull back into
Of
a
course, we
pasture?
all have been cowboys, for God's sake. We spent our summers in Wyoming.
It's a lot of
What
that.
do you think?
Hey, whoa,
Whoa, hey.
It's a lot of that.
I have.
Go to the left.
Well, you're
So
a
you know-
farmer.
You know what it's like, Chris?
Yeah.
They're really dumb animals.
How do you look out for the dung?
That's not a problem in the
just-
wild.
You just step in it, man.
just-
It's not
that's
You
why you
just
wear your
don't worry
boots.
about
You
it.
step in it, then you run up to the deer
Kenny,
stand to have a
right.
sandwich. And
See, that was the problem.
Kenny and Crystal.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Chris. No.
I was
just going to say,
Yeah.
Well, somebody say something.
what are we going to
Take a break. Goodbye.
No, we can't because it's my turn to talk about Hofferman Water.
Oh.
I was just going to say the problem of being the fast kid in the family is Grandpa always sent you out.
Oh.
Hey, get out there quick.
Go.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
Hofferman Water
Kenny-
and Connecticut are here for you,
never
John
mind then.
Haidt. This
I
delay
never
is...
had a grandpa.
Oh.
Yeah.
me neither.
Never met a grandpa.
Oh, what's coming up on the ride? We got Hofferman Water here, folks. Let's take care of what's going on.
That was brilliant, Rookie.
But if you did, he would have loved Hofferman
And
Water.
if I did, he would have driven a bus.
I would have had a nice cold glass of ice water with Gramps.
Yeah.
Hofferman Water and Connecticut. I started as a customer with Hofferman Water and Connecticut years ago, and then Jim came to the house and said, "Are you that dummy on GL?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." And here's the deal. It's going to make an amazing difference in the quality of your water like it has done for me in not one, but two homes. Hofferman Water and Connecticut offer sales, service, and rental options for Connecticut water treatment systems. That includes water softeners, iron, rust, and odor filtration systems, and, of course, brand new drinking water systems. And a new system from Connecticut can do so many things that other water softeners just simply cannot do. It's going to cut down on your salt usage. It's going to protect your appliances. Trust me when I say it's going to make an amazing difference in the quality of your water. The first step, though, is you got to get on the schedule and have them come out for that free water analysis. And you can do that one of two ways. You can call them directly at 612-895-2440, or you can go online and visit HoffermanWater.com. You get on the schedule, you have them come out for that water score and that free water analysis, and voila, your new system is going to be brilliant. Yes, Joe?
Both my grandfathers died long before my parents even got married.
Really?
And my old man's dad, they planted him right in the living room of the house. He put him on display right there. I guess you used to have the wakes
wake
in the
right
house. Yeah.
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 Oh, I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I wasn't there.
Right, you weren't alive
No.
yet.
Right.
And what does that have to do with Hofferman?
Yeah.
They had a lot of water they were
I
serving.
bet lemonade. Was it lemonade
I
made
think
with
they
Hoffman
did.
water?
I think they had some.
Hoffman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years.
I thought you were done with that. That's why I intervened.
Mentioned that you heard about them here on the Garage Logic podcast. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
This guy wears many hats, just not indoors. Joe Souchere.
I'm calling it, I'm declaring next week in Gumption County Deep Creep Week, because I've been receiving emails from GLers about Deep Creep, like John in St. Michael. We read his email earlier this week. He's cleaning off shipping wax on a brand new chain for his Suzuki. Worked great. Keith out in Montana has been using Deep Creep to bring the zippers back to life on his Yamaha side-by-side. I love that idea. I gave it a try on my Polaris Ranger, and he's right. It worked great. If you're a gun owner, make sure you have a can in the truck if you're headed to deer camp tonight. Not only does it work on your firearms, but you'll probably need it around camp and maybe on those squeaky hinges and chairs in your deer stand. Deep Creep, it loosens rusty parts, it cleans and protects metal, and resists evaporation and extreme heat. It's way better than anything else on the market, and it's available wherever fine automotive chemicals are sold. That means from your local Knack hardware store all the way up to the big retailers. Stock in a supply of Deep Creep before you do anything else today. Get it done today. Another fine product from our friends at Seafoam.
Are we still worried about wasting disease with deer?
In some areas, yeah, chronic wasting disease.
Is Pat with us?
Yes, sir.
Pat.
Hello, Joe.
How are you, Pat?
I'm hanging in there.
Did you get a new computer?
I got a new computer about a month ago, or 2 weeks ago, and today I turned it on and the screen was sideways. And it's hard to type that way when you're trying to hack something out.
Yeah, you got to turn and suspend yourself.
I went on to Dell and to have me all these, Dell. Okay, what do you want me to do here, boys?
Yeah.
And they gave you full instructions that didn't work at all. So finally, I went on Twitter, and some guy said, "You just call this up and then tell them you want portrait instead or landscape instead of portrait."
Yeah, that's the trouble I get in with printing here. I go portrait. And
you start clicking all sorts of buttons because it's not printing fast enough.
Is this a computer? Is this a newspaper supplied device?
No, this is my own.
I see.
They don't supply us contractors with bleep.
That's true.
Except I do.
You have a contract. Yeah, I just don't have one.
A piss poor one, but I do have a contract.
Yeah. Patrick, you're answering the question for some of the staff that is not on camera on our YouTube feed, because someone had said to me earlier today, "Boy, it'll be great when we can set Royce up with a Zoom link when he joins the show." And I went, let's just stick to the
that's
phone.
not going to happen.
Hey, Pat, do we got winter juggernauts on our hand here with the Timberwolves and the Wild?
Yeah, the Timberwolves, they're a well-established NBA team now where they just, urinate on themselves for 3 quarters and then kick the other team.
Right. They did last night.
That's the NBA tradition, When you're really good, you go over there, you smoke a cigarette during the middle of the third quarter, and you do what, and you go talk to the gals up in the stands.
Right, and then you say, "All right, boys, let's score a few."
Yeah, let's kick the hell out of it. And by the way, we've seen that for 30 years with our Timberwolves being on the other side of that.
Right.
Hey, they might win this game. They're ahead of the Lakers with by 8 points with 10 minutes to go, and then they lose by 22. That's the way that happens. So the NBA is a different kind of thing. So.
And the Wild are gangbusters, man. They're just gangbusters.
What was the final? It was 3-1 last night.
5-2.
5-2, yeah.
5-2. Man, scoring goals. They're good, man.
They're at the Duck tonight.
The Ducks stink.
Yeah.
So they'll be. Hockey. It's you never know, but they are good. I think it's legit. The first 2 lines are really good. And then they got a bunch of plumbers, but then they got Faber, and you got some of these old defensemen, and the goalies are playing okay, but I think they're fairly legitimate. When you got one of the 3 best players in the league, you're pretty good because they've never had that before.
Yeah, he lost a tooth, and they stitched him up, and he came out. He's gangbusters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he only wasn't a Russian, I could really like it. But anyway, I don't. Like the old Bernsey story. I told you the old Bernsey story when his son-in-law his daughter was about to marry an Iranian, and he asked the guy. He said, "Hey, aren't we at war with Iran?" And they said, "Yes, but not specifically with this fellow." And I think he kind of had the same attitude with Kaprizov.
Pat, were you a deer hunter?
No, a couple of times I did. My old man loved it, man. But I did not. But I think when I was a kid, I was out 2 or 3 times, and one day we were out in southwestern Minnesota. You know, they shoot shotgun shells with big lead honking
slugs
metal in them, and you can hear it. And I was down in a valley, and there was a deer running up kind of halfway up the hill, and I could hear these damn things going by, you know, and I kind of gave up on it then. I didn't want to die from a big piece of lead into my forehead.
On the off chance
I did on Tuesday night want to die from a big piece of lead in my head.
On the off chance that people haven't heard it, it's the start of deer hunting season. What, midnight tonight? Is that it? No. You can't shoot them at night, can you? Tell the story.
Guys would do it that way, but
I didn't mean that you were strap a headlight on your head.
He's got night vision goggles.
I guess it's fishing that starts at midnight.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tell the story. I know you've told it before, but it's the season. Tell the story of Richard and the can of paint and the deer hunt.
Okay, Richard's up north, Ely. You know, he used to go up to various areas up north, hunting up north. And
he didn't have any of the kids with him. He was with his guys.
No, he just went by himself.
Okay.
And, imagine drank. He made himself some homemade martins and just had a good old time.
Yeah.
You know, half bleep faced in the deer stand. What can you beat that? How can you beat that?
Yep.
But anyway, he got a regular size one, but then he got a littler one that he kind of tucked in underneath the other one when he was bringing them back. And he had this. He was driving by the Twin Cities, and he had this idea that he should go see his buddy Kenny Malone, another undertaker down here, and have a few drinks. But you know, he worked hard at his pranks sometimes.
Yes.
In this case, he had one with small antlers on it, but you know, enough. So he stopped at a hardware store, and he got a little red paint, painted the deer's nose. Then he found some bells to put around the thing.
Bells.
You know, around, I don't know where the hardware store.
Aisle 6. Aisle 6.
I don't know where he did. But anyway, and the kids were all young then, you know.
Yeah.
So there was about 4 or 5 Malone kids, and he called out the youngest ones before he went in the house. He got one of the kids was out, and he got the youngest ones to come out, and he said, "Geez, I'm sorry, there's not going to be Christmas this year because I shot Rudolph." And I think the wife would have been okay with it if she didn't have like a 4-year-old.
Screaming.
Convinced that there wasn't going to be Rudolph. Because Rudolph got shot. So,
that, you know,
when I
love the artwork that went into it. The craft that went into it.
That story officially,
huh?
The Malone, the sons, handled Richard's funeral service.
Yeah.
And then we had to wait, the night before, and everybody's sitting around and drinking. And David, one of the Malones, starts telling the story about Richard tormenting them with the death of the deer in the driveway when they were young kids, So I kind of heard snippets of it, but I hadn't heard the full story.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Got it from one of the witnesses.
That's it.
You're not going to tell me how I handled the election. You want to ask?
Well, you just told me you wish you had a big hunk of lead in your head.
Yeah,
what do you want me to know?
I've gotten over it. You know what I did
Huh.
to get over it Wednesday? I looked up one of those actuary accounts, and put in my information. I might have fudged a little on the weight, but I put in my stuff. And I got a 57% chance to live 8 more years. Right?
Really?
That's according to this thing, a 57% chance. Now, if I if I gave them 5 more pounds, it might have been less. It might have been 55.
Yeah.
But I said, I can't waste 4 of my final 8 years just being mad because one of the 25 biggest jackasses in America got elected president.
No, you can't waste it.
I can't. I got to go on with life. So I decided to go on with life, especially when those 8 years, when like the last 2 or 3, you're going to be in some place with lousy television, padding down the hall for 15 minutes once in the afternoon, once in the evening.
Loaded diaper.
Having to ring the bell at 2 a.m. and say you did something to yourself. And,
It's full again. Yeah.
I can't wait. 4 of my last 5 years.
Well, I know you made the right call. You made a right call.
Wow.
I might just go on with my life and just
Adding to Joe's Positive Friday.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, Pat.
I like how optimistic you are.
View of it.
It is terribly optimistic, and
Why should I waste 80% of what remains in my life where I can still go to the bathroom by myself?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
I would hang on to that extra 10 pounds and live life to the fullest.
I love that you think you've got 8 years. That's really optimistic.
Well, but I didn't just make that up. I looked, and they said if you're 79 and you have all these characteristics, and I put in there how much exercise you get. I put in there 0, So I didn't budget, 0.
Well, plus Pat, as you noted on Monday Night Sports Suck, you've cut back on Diet Coke and you've replaced it with energy drinks.
Yes, that's right. Which have even more caffeine. That's a good idea.
I'm going to mix it up, Joe.
In your report, was the term morbidly? Did that appear at all?
No, they didn't. Morbidly.
Take that as a.
I don't like morbid.
Take that as a good.
I do think in my whole long life, there's nothing more than egregious. There's nothing more egregious than throwing that morbidly in.
I know. You don't need morbidly.
Can't they just say very fat?
Very.
Morbidly.
It sounds like you can't stand up.
Morbidly. And, all the political correct terms we use now, you can't. You can't be a cripple anymore, right? Okay,
right.
I don't call anybody that. You're disabled, but they can still call us fat guys morbidly obese.
But it's a step up from lard ass.
Yeah,
it is.
It's worse. I'd rather be called lard ass than morbid.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? Pat, earlier in the show, we discovered that NPR is doing a play. Reenacting the Edmund Fitzgerald. We need to have a play themed around you and Joe, where you guys act out something.
We'd love to.
We've got to do something. Hear ye.
Why not the Fitzgerald? I see Gilligan and the skipper right there, huh? Hand me that life rope. Hit the distress signal.
Who's going to figure out first that we might be in trouble here?
I'd like to just
breaking in half.
Yeah, I see the little C guy coming up, knocking on the door. Hey, we're trying to write a column here. Get the hell out of here.
The boat's breaking
Why
in
is it
half.
so shaky?
I got in trouble with the wife for all the names I was calling the sideways computer today.
I bet. Yeah.
It was not good. She was upstairs and not even in the same room when I was shouting my MFers to. I don't think the computer cared though. It wasn't going to fix it just because I called it a lot of filthy names.
Right. But now you're fine.
I'm fine.
All right, we'll talk to you Monday.
Goodbye.
All right, goodbye.
I'm fine, but it's upside down. It's not on its side.
Yeah.
He's going to make me live 10 years less.
Well, you're going to go to South Dakota then.
Okay.
Go to Sioux
I can
Falls,
chill.
increase the lifespan, and get a better tax climate.
All right.
Now, if you heard Jim Schultz talking about Minnesota business, it is rather a sobering fault, but there are states that are on top of this. South Dakota has low business costs, high quality of life in Sioux Falls with a population of more than $290,000 is at the center of these attractions. It's voted #1 best small city for business and careers by Forbes magazine. They got a growing job market. There's opportunities. It's a tax-friendly climate. There's no corporate income tax and there's no state, corporate, or personal income tax. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You compare that to this state,
You're making a lot more money.
and I'll miss you, but it's a podcast. You can still join us every day. So you want to know how South Dakota stacks up against other states, go to the website, Sioux Falls Development, one word, SiouxFallsDevelopment.com, and discover that low cost of doing business and the best business tax climate.
I need to live my life.
Finally. Thank God today is Friday. TGTI Friday. It's the scramble!
John has a fact.
I do. I didn't know this, and maybe you guys already know this, but did you know Susan Wiles, who we talked about earlier, the new chief of staff for President Trump, President-elect Trump, is the daughter of Pat Summerall?
No! Isn't that an interesting tidbit?
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Just saw it.
That's cool.
The voice of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
She actually went to and worked her first job in politics. She worked for Jack Kemp when he became a senator.
I'll
so I
be
suppose
damned.
the football connection was all,
That's
in order.
interesting. There's a story that we must announce.
Okay.
Report. We lost 43 monkeys.
Yeah, I saw this.
Okay. 43 monkeys escaped from a research lab in South Carolina Wednesday night. This is not good. Police in Yemassee, Beaufort County said the rhesus macaw primates escaped from Alpha Genesis. Does this have a spooky movie written all over it?
This is really, I see a lot of...
A business that provides non-human primate products and bioresearch services. The monkeys were a group of very young females. Now, they claim they were never used for testing and that they're too young to carry disease. I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it.
They're lab monkeys.
Alpha Genesis currently have eyes on the primates and are working to entice them with food, police said. Traps have been set up and officers are using thermal imaging cameras in an attempt to recapture the animals. Residents are strongly advised to keep doors and windows secured to prevent these animals from entering homes. Yemassee Sheriff's Department said in a statement, anyone who finds a monkey should not interact with it, but call 911. Well, can I ask you something? If you're telling me that they're all young, we didn't do any testing on them, don't worry about a thing, they're too young to carry any illness, then why in the hell do I got to freak out if I see one?
Right. Well, they'll go right for your jugular. You stare at them, they'll go right for your jugular.
Throw poop at you.
Yeah.
Can we shoot them?
The company works with monkeys to carry out clinical trials, including on brain disease disorder treatments, and says it has one of the largest and most comprehensive non-human primate facilities designed specifically for monkeys. Alpha Genesis did not respond to a request for comment from NBC News. The company secured a federal contract to run a colony of 3,500 monkeys on Morgan Island off the coast of South Carolina, also known as what? Monkey Island.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to Monkey Island.
Whoa.
A lot of chicanery.
Can they swim?
The Post and Courier newspaper in Beaufort County reported that primate escapes have happened several times before, including in May this year and in 2016 when 19 evaded security at Alpha before they were recaptured. In 2022, 3 monkeys escaped following a traffic accident in rural Pennsylvania because I suppose the monkey driving was not paying attention or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
he's like,
on the phone.
Are we on the left side or the right side?
The monkey driving was on the phone.
Do we drive on the right side or
He
the
might
left
have been
side?
texting, too, while he was driving.
You know, I'm not buying a word that this sounds like, what's the island off the tip of Long Island that I'm thinking of? That,
Staten?
Nantucket.
No, God, no.
Ellis.
No, the
Guam?
Gilligan's?
Gilligan.
Nelson
Gilligan's.
DeMille has written a Plum Island.
Plums.
Plum.
I
Where
love
the
plums.
government had secret research
Yes,
facilities.
yes.
And where, curiously enough, today we have something called Lyme disease that sprang from the area.
Lyme
You're going to
Island.
tell me down in Beaufort there where they got Barney Fife in a 1968 Ford sheriff's car. He's the only cop they got, and we're supposed to not worry? Don't worry, the monkeys are young. We don't test on them.
Yeah.
Then why am I supposed to call 911, and why should I bar the door?
But don't look them in the eye.
I wonder if my Russian neighbor has any.
They'll probably show up at your place. Anyway, be careful if you're in
flinging-
South Carolina.
They'll throw poop at me.
911, what's your emergency?
Can I get the time and the temp?
I got monkeys.
Oh, boy.
Hey, wait a minute. South Carolina. North Carolina. South.
It's right below.
Yeah, South Carolina has a coast. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're right on there. They're up against the drink.
I just had to go my mental map for
Yeah.
a while. I got
Well,
it.
North Carolina does too.
That's right.
Wasteless tidbit of information. Pat Summerall and John Madden were first teamed on a November 25th, 1979 broadcast of a Minnesota Viking Tampa Bay Buccaneers game.
That late he was doing it?
Yes, he was.
I thought he was early 60s or late 60s.
Well, yeah, but this is the first time they paired
this
together.
This is those guys together.
Oh.
Was it
Pat, you
Viking?
see that up there?
Sure do.
I mean, what do you think that is?
Looks like a cat.
What do you think he's doing up there, Pat? I mean, usually a cat isn't hanging from the roof like that.
Like a cat on a hot tin roof.
That's how I'm feeling right now, Pat.
Dangling. Spinning.
You ever see one of those Cirque du Soleil shows, Pat? This looks a lot like one of those right now, except it's a cat.
He's falling to the 5. They caught him.
This is unreal, Pat.
You guys remember that, right? The kitty cat hanging from... It was a Dolphins
Do you have
game.
the one where they're watching the girl in the gas
That's
station?
the one I was trying to find, but that's the I could only find.
Well, you should be able to find it.
I tried desperately while you're reading the monkey story, and this is the only one I could
I
find.
have more useless information regarding the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Okay.
1163 is when they started. They wrapped her up in 1345.
Wow.
Wow.
When we're done today,
So we're a
take
little more
us
efficient
out,
at 5 years,
Chris.
huh?
We're not done yet, but when we are, will you take us out with Notre Dame?
It looks like this young lady's just realized the gas tank's on the other side of her vehicle.
But didn't she do this one time before you started videoing this thing already?
Sure did.
So she keeps pulling around, but she can't fill up because she keeps pulling around to the same side where the gas tank isn't instead of where the gas tank is. Isn't that right, Pat?
I think so.
So what's more confusing here, where her gas tank is or my explanation of this whole thing?
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Cat dropped to the 5.
You would like the bells of Notre
No,
Dame.
not yet, because I have to tell you that only because they come to us all the way from
You didn't do that yet?
Cleveland, Ohio, the Traveling Lyman's.
I thought you did that already.
I didn't do this, Matt. Oh, Chris.
Maybe that was
Matt,
yesterday.
whatever your name is.
Yeah.
On this day,
November 8th.
in 1890, the Grand Opera House in Minneapolis hosted the first American performance of the English translation of Donizetti's opera Anna Bolena.
Anna Bolena.
I have a cartoon bubble of the finery that they were wearing back in
what do
that
you
day.
have?
Well, I'm sure it was very formal.
Theatrical
Yeah.
and corsets. And,
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
On this day,
On November 8th.
in 1898, Kenny, the Kensington runestone was discovered on Olaf Ullman's farm near Alexandria. The stone told of a group of Vikings who traveled to Minnesota in 1362, but its authenticity has long been the subject of debate. I happen to believe it's real.
I wonder if those Columbus haters know about this.
Yeah. I believe it's real because anybody named Olaf Ullman did not have a sense of humor.
I'm with you on that.
There was no humor in that.
I can get behind
What
that.
if it was a prankster, but that prankster lived 100 years before Olaf? You know what I'm saying?
Could have been, but that's quite a prank for those days.
It's a lot of work.
I don't think they had pranks in those days. I don't think they were invented.
No,
yet.
tricks were not really the
I
same.
don't think they were invented yet.
Yeah.
On this day,
11/8.
November 8th on this day, 1926, the old Mendota Bridge to Fort Snelling opened and was dedicated to the men of the 151st Field Artillery who had been killed in World War I.
There's your Fort Snelling reference.
No, actually, Matt, that was a Mendota. Well, you're right, Matt. Fort Snelling was the...
They threw it in there.
They got it.
Yeah, you got it.
On this day,
November 8th.
in 1932, Minnesota citizens were allowed to vote for all 9 of the state's congressional seats because the legislature had failed to reapportion the districts following the census of 1930.
Was there a lot of outrage over that on social media?
Wasn't around, Chris. Wasn't here for that.
Got it.
And
we had 9 congressional seats at that time?
Yeah. What do we got now?
Wow.
We got at least 8.
2. Oh, do we really?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'll just be quiet.
Carry the 1.
We had 8.
Now we got.
So we lost 1.
I didn't have to carry the 1, did I?
Finally, on this day.
You're talking about November 8th.
It was on this day, Ilhan Omar was elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives. A Somali immigrant to Minnesota, she was the first Somali American and Muslim woman to serve in the state legislature. In 2018, she became the first Somali American elected to the U.S. Congress.
And now she won't leave.
And she's still
all
there.
ours, yeah.
She just won again over
Rashida.
Iraqi.
Dahlia.
Sorry, Dahlia.
Who suffered, unfortunately, the GL curse.
She's never coming back on this show.
Downing reminded me that we had Hillary Clinton on the show in 2016. She suffered from the GL curse, lost to Trump, and Downing is blaming Garage Logic or crediting Garage Logic for the Trump victory in 2016 because Hillary had the curse.
Yeah, she came on the show.
Jim Schultz, if he runs for anything, because we
He's
want him
gotta
to
stay
win,
away.
we're never having him on or never talking to him. Never talking to him.
Sorry, Jim.
If he runs for anything, we don't acknowledge it. We don't talk to him. GLers,
I mean,
watch out for ostriches.
what are you doing this weekend?
Here are the bells of Notre Dame ringing for the first time since that devastating fire in 2019. These bells are in the North Belfry.
Sanctuary! Sanctuary! I couldn't resist.
We know. GLers, do us a favor.
I'm in love with the bell of St. Mark.
You are? Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah,
it's
I already
right there
did.
on the Garage Logic YouTube channel. Did you know that GL has a YouTube channel?
My wife just watched the entire show just now. She informed me.
Hi, Mac. How are you? Yeah, because on YouTube, you can watch the entire Garage Logic podcast live, and you can see our beautiful faces on the YouTube channel. It's great. There's also...
That's the part I don't like about
I don't want to be on bleeping
You
TV.
can see it.
Right.
You should also follow us along on all of our social media channels, which includes X, Facebook, Instagram, and sign up for the Daily Logician. It's an email. Comes right to your inbox each and every single day. It includes the most up-to-date episode of the podcast, and also you get a weekly note from the mayor himself. You'll be getting it tomorrow. It's called Saturdays with Such. Weekend cha?
I got a weekend shot.
You got it stacked up there?
You got plans?